So this is In the Lab, the next episode that we got. I'm here with Brianna Mazzola.
That's me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this interview. I've had so many questions, so many things I got to get through. But before I do, can you just tell me about yourself, what you do? Or
Yeah, I can. So my name is Brianna Mazzola. I'm originally from Philadelphia, born and raised. I came out to LA when I was like 14, and I've been out here practically ever since. I've been really lucky to have a family that supported me in my endeavors from a very early age. I mean, I started dancing at 3, was in vocal lessons at 5, did some theater growing up, and then the night that kind of changed everything was when I sang at the Apollo Theater, and then that's what kind of brought me to LA. And then I was lucky enough to be a part of Club Mickey Mouse, the revival of the Mickey Mouse Club from the 90s, and then signed my first label deal with LA Reid, and then parted ways with the label, did Trolls Band together, and now we're here.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's all my questions. That's it.
That's it. It was nice seeing y'all. Thank you for watching.
Dude, it was like there's listening to your journey and hearing everything that you've done, and obviously have yet to do, and speaking to Helen, and she's not lying about the support. Like, mom's really literally showed up to this thing
Right
just
there.
to be here, to make sure she's taking care of, right behind the camera,
Yeah.
to make sure that she's supported and all that stuff. And I really appreciate that, because my mom's the same way. So whenever I see that, it really does touch me for real. So my first question, just to get into, I know you got down to the breakdown. I just got to know, is it a wave?
It's an
a
audio
wave file?
wave.
Okay,
It's
so
an
how
audio
did
wave.
that start?
So I'm obsessed with all things superhero.
Yeah.
I'm a huge superhero junkie.
After my own heart. After my own heart. Hold on.
But like specifically Marvel was like my thing growing up. I always watched the movies. Like that was like one of the few movies I always went into theaters to see.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of cool because my best friend's in a Marvel series.
Ooh.
And I'm so happy for her because she also loves Marvel, maybe more than me.
Yeah.
But it's been really cool to kind of explore that. And I think after parting with the label, I was trying so hard to find like a thing that I could identify myself with artistically that wasn't a change of my name or dyeing my hair, or like all of the stereotypical things that labels ask you to do when they first sign you and they want to build a brand.
Yeah.
I think for me, I was like, none of that feels authentic, but maybe adding something on could. So I started kind of exploring different ideas, and I was like, how can I incorporate like my love of superheroes into music? Because I do think music is a very powerful thing. I think it saves people's lives in a lot of ways. It saved mine in a million. So I wanted to kind of have those two things line up.
Yeah.
And while I was, with the label, we experimented with a couple mask ideas, because I was like, it'd be cool to do like some sort of superhero mask, but maybe not make it like a domino mask.
Yeah.
And we explored with like fabric and different textures and things like that, and it was great. But I think once I left the label, I really wanted to stick with finding out what it was, like, because something didn't feel just right yet. So I started playing around with makeup, and one day I was doing like the little comic book sleep Z's coming out of my eyeliner.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that kind of looks like an audio wave if I tilt my head to the side. And then I was like,
That's it.
oh my God, an audio wave.
Yeah.
So then I have videos like over the course of a couple weeks and maybe a month of me just workshopping different patterns and different ways of making it work, trying to make them out of wires. And like, it was a whole process. And then one day I got this and settled with it and haven't taken it off since.
That is way doper of an answer than I thought you were going to give me.
Yeah. Brownie points.
I can't lie. Well, obviously one near and dear to my heart, obviously Marvel.
Love, yes.
So like, okay, so my interpretation of it before you gave me your answer was, I was like, okay, obviously the waveform, your music, but I was also like, it kind of reminds me of like a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
A lot of people ask me like, is that a EKG?
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Technically, I mean, it's a sound wave, it's an audio wave. So yes.
Yeah, it's like at the heartbeat. I mean, if I'm getting philosophical, it's like at the heartbeat of what you do. Like, you
Yes.
love music, you all that
It's
stuff. But
what keeps me going. So
well,
look.
and then the Marvel thing, like I said, that's so much doper.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No, but I mean, the two kind of align.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, like I wanted that element of music being that saving grace and that like thing that really can keep people going and making them feel seen and understood, because that's what it was for me. So in a way, it is the heartbeat of life.
Yeah.
Soundtrack of life, I guess. But
And for me, see, like, something we hadn't talked about before was, the reason I got into comic books, the whole reason I grew up in the hood. I'm from Long Beach.
Love it.
And it was, it was way different than it is now. Everything is so beautiful now. I went down there. My house is gone now from now, but anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. They like gentrified the whole place.
They just took it.
Good riddance.
Oh my God.
Good riddance. There's so many. Anyway, it's terrible. But
no, that's awful.
But one of the good things though is my love for like being a nerd kind of came from the fact that my mom, she wouldn't let me go outside. So I read comic books. I would just read comic books and I do all this stuff just because anytime I walked outside, it was kind of my way to escape everything, gunshots, gay activity, violence, all the things that I saw as a kid.
Yeah.
It was like an escape for me, and it's something that I could put myself into, you know.
It was a form of escapism. You were building your own reality within. It was. That's great.
And seeing you like, you know, like interpret what you're doing and your love for that and making it your own, you're like the character of your own life, right? You know what I mean? You're the character in your own movie, and it's dope to see because it like does. It really, I mean, from the first time I saw you, I remember Helen told me about it, and I was like, yo, what is this? This is dope.
What is on her face?
Yeah.
The amount of times it's been like broken down into different things. Like sometimes people are like, is that a lightning bolt?
Yeah.
What's on your face? Is that an earthquake? I'm like, it's an audio wave.
It's whatever you want it to be.
But honestly, it looks different to different people. So
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty behind it. Because for me, it has a very specific meaning. But I also love seeing people interpret it in their own light and making it mean something to them. Because that's art. I mean, art, it's never one way or the other. There's that gray space around all of it that can kind of be molded to the mind of the perceiver or the viewer, which is cool. It's been really exciting to see that kind of play out. Like I'll be out in public and I'll have like a grandmom and her granddaughter. They walk up and the grandma's like, "Can I take a picture of your face?" She said she wants to try it when she gets home. It looks so cool. I'm like, yes, and it's cool to see people excited on the makeup side. Then there's people who are excited on the comic book side or the the audio wave like sound file side. It's all very different for different people, but nonetheless, it's exciting.
So what's your favorite Marvel property then? Like, what's your go-to?
Oh, that's a tough question.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, I think there's a difference for me in terms of like movies and characters and things that I love, and also the characters that I feel I most like.
Okay, so let's break it down.
Those can be different.
Two different ones then.
Yeah, like if I'm getting super nostalgic, like Iron Man started it all for me. Like that was my childhood, so. I think Iron Man for me is definitely like top tier. And not only did he have a lot of things to work on character development wise, like he had to kind of go through his things and unlearn a lot of things. And I think that was refreshing to see from like this like powerful figure in the Marvel universe. But I think in terms of like who I'm most like, I would probably pull it more into like, if like Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange had a baby and then like a splash of Nick Fury was thrown in there, that's kind of like how I would perceive my personality. Like I think I have more of the stoicism of like Nick Fury and how he kind of operates on that analytical, but a little bit more of like the imaginative world building abilities of like a Doctor Strange or a Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, so that kind of like leads into my next question then. So you're saying those are the people that was going to be my question, who you identify with.
Them.
So if you got those ones, how does that translate into your music?
I think I like building worlds within, whether it be the song or the project or whatever. I see the project before I hear it. That's always been how my mind has worked. I will literally have a dream. I will dream up the world and I will dream up what that looks like. And then the sounds reveal themselves to me over time.
Gotcha.
Like for my recent single, Pick Your Poison, I've had that song in my pocket since 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not releasing the song without a video because it's not going to make sense to other people unless they see what I see in the song.
Gotcha.
So I held off on releasing it until I felt like I was ready to attach a visual to it.
Yeah.
And luckily I was able to do that. So it was more so about building out that world and like, for example, pulling different references that like on first glance you might not notice, but like the deeper you dive, you're like, oh, not only are there references to our world, but it's within this new world and this new thing that is kind of taking shape. And I think that's what I strive to do as a musician. Like when I see the world and when it's brought to me and I have that vision, I just slowly start adding colors and different textures and different things that I kind of see or would imagine I would see. And then that kind of just takes its own
goes from there.
Takes its own journey. Yeah.
So it's, for me, like, you know, obviously a lot of my music is driven by visuals.
Very cool.
So I work in like, it's called nerdcore. It's the easiest umbrella to put it under. But like, it's basically just making music that's inspired by other properties. Obviously, you know about that with Trolls and all that stuff, and we'll get into that. But like, for me, it's like taking somebody's experiences and making it relatable.
Yes.
So it's really cool to hear that, because for me it all starts kind of with the visual.
Yeah.
It starts with the interaction, the feeling, and when I put it to the visual, it really like brings it alive. It really helps it make sense.
Yeah.
So I understand that completely. Not wanting to release something or not wanting to drop something where it necessarily doesn't convey the emotion that you want it, and that's how you want people to see it for the first time.
Yeah, and I also think when like performance is a really big element, whether it be graphics or dance or whatever that physical element is that brings all of those visions to life, I think that can make or break the way people understand the song.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, it's magical. Like, it's a really, really cool layer. It's like if you watch a horror film and there's no scary soundtrack, the movie's not gonna be that scary. Like, you're gonna anticipate things differently, and music kind of, for me, visually, it's the tugging, right? Like, it kind of helps pull you into the world. So I think starting with the vision and expanding out always helps kind of bring that to life.
Man, that's crazy. Well, so you brought up something, and I want to kind of circle back to it. So you said your breakout moment was the Apollo. Yeah. Right. So like for me, like, and as somebody who like obviously has seen performances at the Apollo, and you hear all the horrible horror stories of people getting booed and walked up. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So what got you first off to the Apollo? What like was the stepping stone that got you on the stage?
Yeah.
How did you feel, and what was the reception to you when you were on stage? And then after you left, what was the feeling that you had leaving the Apollo?
So everybody always rolls their eyes when I say this because they don't believe that it's true, but I was very shy as a kid. Yeah. Like, painfully shy, like, would not speak anywhere. Like, I would go places with my mom and they would be like, does she talk? Yeah. My mom's like, yeah, she talks all the time. I was very shy with new people, like, painfully. And I think for a long time, theater and building those worlds within musicals was where I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone. And even that took me a while because I was so scared of being seen the way that I saw myself. Yeah. And I think coming through characters and finding these different outlets kind of expanded that. And I did that until I was maybe 11 or 12. And then I was just like, I want more. Like, I want to like throw myself out there and just risk it all. And my mom was like, huh? What do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I want to do, the next thing. And my vocal teacher at the time, who I'd been training with since I was 5 years old, she would bring me around the city and perform with her husband and their band. Like, that was how I started at like 5. So she told my mom about the Apollo. She was like, I think Brie could do it. Wow. And my mom was like, I don't know about that. Like, she's kind of a chicken. And like, that's a demanding audience in the sense of like, there's a heavy pressure there and you either rise or you crumble. And I think, she was a little scared, but after like sitting on it a little bit, like with my mom and my grandparents and my dad and my sibling, everybody's like, no, like, let's do it. We'll get a party bus and we'll bring the whole family up. And that was literally what happened. That's dope. I do the audition. I'm sitting outside. It's like 3 a.m. It's ice cold outside. I'm like in Harlem just waiting for my chance to audition. Go inside, do Listen by Beyonce. Mm-hmm. And then
that's a tough song.
Yes, but I loved it. I was a Broadway fan, so when Dreamgirls came, I was like, it was my favorite movie. So went in, did that. They came out a little bit later and were like, you got it. We'll see you for the show. And I was like, what? I just auditioned in a room with a couple people. Now I got to do the whole audience. So I remember touching the stump when I walked out, blacking out completely. Yeah. Like, I remember not a single thing that happened, sang the whole song, and then the second I came to, the whole audience was standing. Oh, no, and I was like,
that's crazy.
What just happened? Like, I had no idea. And like, I was the kid that didn't walk on stage. Like, I stood still. Yeah. If you look at the video, I'm walking, I'm pointing, I'm doing, and it was like a completely different version of me had come out on the stage that night. And that, having my whole family there for that and all of my friends, they were like, whoa. Yeah. Like, we knew she could sing, but like, now she can entertain. Like, this is a different category. Mm-hmm. So that was really the night that I think my family took it seriously and the audience as well. Yeah. So
did it hit you yet, or?
Oh, I walked off stage. My mom was like crying. I'm like, what did I do? Did I mess up? I was seriously, like, when I tell you all I remember were people's faces, I have no idea what notes I sang, what I did. It was just pure instinct and adrenaline. Like, I have no idea. And ever since then, every time I perform, it's the same thing. I remember the faces and the people I interact with. Yeah. Could not tell you what I did.
But see, in honesty, you just go to a different place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
the world that I've always built and imagined in those moments, I'm actually taken there.
Yeah.
So that's why when I come to, I'm like, I don't know what I just did. I was just moving through the scenes, and and it's a wild feeling, and it's hard to explain to people who maybe aren't entertainers or aren't used to performing on stage, like what that switch feels like.
Yeah.
But it's still you. It's an extended version of you, but it's like, I always say it's the most confident version of you. Like, I think a lot of times it's like alter ego and things like that. I'm like, no, that's me when there's no one in the room.
Yeah.
And I just know now how to channel that when there's thousands or hundreds of people in the room.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I don't know.
I like that. That's me when there's nobody in there. This is me.
Yeah.
To my core. This is me.
Like, of course it's going to feel different to everybody because not everybody experiences me in that way.
Yeah.
But for me, that's when I feel the most myself or the most authentic. That's why if I could do it forever, I would. If I could sing 24/7 and perform 24/7 and never stop, I would.
I think you're on your way.
Hey, you said it.
I'm saying.
So, you said it.
I think, it's funny as you talk about that, and like most people in my real life, they think I'm just the nicest guy, right? Like let's say that like to me in my real life, and then they go see me like play basketball. When I play college ball.
And the competition.
Completely different person.
Yes.
Right? Like
yes.
I'm running over people. I'm like I threw I mean this is sorry I'm gonna put this on here. I like picked up the Gatorade container and threw it at one of the players. I was wild. I was crazy.
Oh my God.
But it was only reserved to the basketball court. That was the only place that was like that.
It brought out that competitive energy.
Exactly. And for you, so hearing that, like going to the other place, it's like something I always resonate with because I know that place. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, see me, I don't have the performance experience like you do, right? Like, all the stuff that I've done up to this point has been like just online, dropping my music on DSPs, all that stuff.
It's still a performance.
Oh yeah, trust me. I mean,
hey,
I
you're
punched my
orchestrating
mic.
all of it.
Oh yeah, I punched my mic before, like, because I was swinging, because I had to get it out what I was saying. Yeah, so. I completely understand with that, and that's dope to hear.
Yeah.
And just like the fact that you were on the Apollo and rocked it, like that's crazy.
3 times.
That's crazy.
3 times. I was grateful to be there 3 times and had the same reaction every time. It was literally like I can't even tell you how much that moment changed me. Like anytime the Apollo wants to call me, I will be there. Like I genuinely owe so much of my start and who I am to that moment. In my purple dress or the mint green one depending on the day, but it was literally that moment that shifted everything.
So then walk me through that then. So like you have the Apollo, you like, I know you kind of in the intro you talked about it, and that was like the moment from that everything changed. You went out to LA. So what happened after the Apollo?
After the Apollo, I mean, I went back home and all my friends were like, we didn't know you could do that. And there was this weird adjustment period where people didn't really know how to interact with me because for so long I was the quiet kid who didn't speak and didn't really have many friends, and I was very much to myself. No one knew I could sing. They knew I wanted to, but they didn't know how well I could do it. So it was always this like weird like, yeah, okay girl, good luck with that dream, like have fun. But I think after that I started noticing the shift in the kids who used to pick on me and make fun of me now wanting to be my friend. Oh well, we heard you might be going to LA and what's going on. So I think that kind of shift, it immediately, made me aware of how quickly things will change. Oh, yeah. Once people start to see that there's something of value that they didn't see before that you always knew was there. And then that quickly got me out to LA. I was meeting with producers and stuff like out here, taking meetings, meeting with different agencies. And like a couple months in, I'd signed with an agency and things were just getting too busy. And my family was like, well, we either stay here. And you go become like a doctor or a lawyer because you're good at talking and you're smart and you can figure something out there, or we fly to LA, all of us as a family, we commit to the process and we commit to helping you get there, and that's what it is.
That's beautiful.
No, it is. Like I would be nowhere without my family. Like they made it all possible. And I, being like, the shy kid, didn't really have a ton of friends. I was like, well, there's nothing holding me here. So let's go. Like my eye is on it. I know what I want to see. Like I've seen it since I was a kid. And for me, that was like, it was such a shift internally because for so long I had been so to myself and I didn't know how to share any of that with the world. And I always knew music was the way, but I'd never really felt the impact until the Apollo. But that shifted everything for me. Like when I came to LA, there was no more shy girl. There was no more, I don't know how to talk in rooms. Like I was very much owning that power and that vision that I always saw and always felt. But like this time I felt like I had the whole world on my side. And not in a sense of people I don't know, but the whole world, meaning like my world, like my family and the people who love me. And to me, that was really all I needed.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah. And a little backstory. So both of my grandparents are from Italy, and they came here when they were kind of young, but they both wanted to be in entertainment. So my grandma always wanted to sing. She loved Diana Ross and the Supremes and Donna Summer. Like, those were her be-all, end-all. She wanted to be them so badly, and the fashion and everything. And she could sing. And my grandpa was an actor. Like, he went to school and was doing theater and soccer. And
You were just meant for this.
it was in my blood. But the thing is, they put all that on hold because, you know, my dad and my aunt, my uncle were born, and they were young, and they had to sacrifice their dream to be able to provide for their family.
Yeah.
And I think hearing all the stories about, you know, their attempts and trying to get there and how passionate they were, but also how, like, the love came first.
Yeah.
It put a lot of things into perspective for me at a really early age in terms of, like, working hard and, like, using that love that I have behind me to thrust me forward. And I think as I've gotten older, I've continued to see just how much specifically my grandparents did to make sure my parents could be in a position to do those things for me and my siblings.
Yeah.
But also kind of how I, 2 generations later, am living the dream that they came here with.
Yeah.
And it's a very wild perspective to be in, but I'm really, really grateful to be able to see that through and also to do that with them behind me 1,000% of the way. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rare thing because, you know, obviously a lot of people, nobody's really jumps on board until you made it.
No,
You
but
know?
my family, they would show up with LED light up signs in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, they held nothing back ever. Even on days where I'm like, I don't know how y'all were supporting that. That was crazy. Like, I listened to the audio and I'm like, y'all cheer?
Y'all like this?
That was crazy.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
You should have never posted that on YouTube. Take it down. Like,
Yeah, I think, you know, it's funny you talk about that switch flipping. So, like, for me, obviously not on an Apollo stage.
no, but
That thing, but for me, like,
everybody's platform is different. Everybody's stage is different. So
for me, it was like, so like, you know, I was talking actually the story a couple days ago. Was like, I told you I grew up in the hood, so like all my friends, like everybody I hung out with, you know, we was just hood folk. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what I knew. But I was always myself, just always big goofy dude, right? So it was funny, the switch up, the same thing that you talked about when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And then I became like a nationally recruited player the very next year, and all the same people that like had the same comments and they came back around. So it's like you talked about.
How's it going?
Exactly.
We should start playing again.
Yeah. And I'm like,
No.
but that like that actually what that moment did for me is it helped me, and kind of the way that you were talking about was I wasn't afraid to be myself now because I knew it wasn't tied to who I was. It was
Them.
exactly.
Yeah.
It was tied to like that. So I was like, okay, I'm the same person. I just have these opportunities now, and now all of a sudden I'm cool. Oh, it's not me.
Do you feel like that helped you navigate things in terms of like pressure of comments and things online?
Oh yes.
Because I
yes.
feel like that's something that in like conversations with other artists that I've noted, like it doesn't affect me.
Oh yeah.
But I think it is partially due to having that like weird disassociation of going, you love me when you want to love me.
Yes.
Not because you think I'm valuable or unvaluable. It's just when you see intention in what I'm doing.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. At least for me, I noticed it kind of bleed over. So I was curious if it did the same for you.
I think for me, because I like, you know, I have a healthy comment section. They always have their opinions, right? And
I'll say 97% of the time it's usually people who love you. But you get those 3 comments sometimes and you're just like, oh! Yeah.
Like, makes you forget everything good that everybody else said.
All 97% is 0.
Yeah. and so for me, though, like, the way that I look at it is, like, I try, okay, the way, not that, so this doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes I'm like, man, what the, like, you know what I mean?
Please get off my page.
So every now and again, like, if it's something just egregious, I'll say, I'll be like, you know. But for the most part, I'm just like, listen, I've been put in a position, in a platform that you saw me.
Yeah.
That you're listening
And
to my music. And you watched
and
it.
typed.
I got bro, I got the engagement, I got the like signal,
Yes.
I got, you know what I mean? So it's like, for me, I'm like, listen, I'm exactly where I need to be. And if somebody isn't like trying to tear what I did down, then I'm not doing something right. There's got to be a difference of opinion. If not, everybody's just yes men. So, you know, I'm just, it's one of those things where I've actually grown to kind of value, even though in the moment, the split reaction, it's like, you don't know.
No, immediately I'm like, you literally don't know me. But then it becomes a chuckle moment where I'm just like, you literally don't know me and you just felt the need to say out. I wish you the best.
I never understood the paragraphs.
That's
where
I do.
I'm like, you do.
I do.
You do.
In the sense of like, because the thing is like, especially with like the trolls demographic, like that expanded such a wide range of different people in different communities, and I saw the contrast of the people who are like, we will ride for Brie, and then the other half where it was like, we didn't like that you did a cover and da-da-da-da-da. And like, there's always gonna be opinions.
Yeah.
But I think seeing how contrasted the love was from, I don't want to say hate, I'll say self-hate, because if you're commenting on somebody else's life that much, you're just not happy.
Yeah.
So, like, in that sense, I almost feel bad. Like, I feel worse for the paragraphs than I do the, like, 5-word comments.
Yeah, because you didn't spend the time to do it.
Because you spent the time to go out of your way to say you didn't like something that was just pure creative and instinct. Like, it wasn't even something that was meant to be, like, a talkable moment. Like, it was just me doing what I love.
Yeah.
And that triggered you so badly that you had to write a Harry Potter novel. I almost feel bad because I wish that for those people that they had the outlet I had. Yeah. Because I'm sure if I didn't, I would be a very different person.
For sure.
Having somewhere where I can safely express myself and be myself has made all the difference for me. So I think sometimes I look at those comments and I'm like, I wish you had that space. Maybe one day it'll be my music. Maybe. Maybe one day you'll turn around and be like, oh, this is cool. But I don't know. I think that's usually where my head goes. I'm like,
So my question is, so you actually kind of got into the trolls thing, right? And I was going to talk about it, but since you brought it up, so my question is like, I'm always very careful in particular about my audiences and not trying to segment my audiences too much, right? Yeah. But obviously you're an artist who outside of trolls is doing their own thing, you know, living their life, making the music that you want to, but then you bring in this whole other audience, like you said. Yes. And now they're now a part of your brand, and now they want to hear what you make, and they're kind of have an expectation in their head of how they found you. Yes. So how do you balance the two, and like what have you done? What have you seen with those two audiences? You know, I think like prior to, a lot of my momentum and like fan base had come from Club Mickey Mouse and the stuff that I did with the label right after. So that was kind of like that little space. But I did see a lot of overlap. Like a lot of my comments would be like, we discovered her in Club Mickey Mouse. Y'all don't know about that. Like, and it would be little things where I could kind of see them kind of having a crossover. Nice. But then there was also this other world from like the Trolls fandom that completely came and found my stuff. And luckily through TikTok, because I remember like the night of the premiere, I didn't get any pictures on the carpet. Like it was this whole thing, but I watched the movie and I was so excited. And then I went home and I'm like, I need people to know it was me. Yeah. Because Amy was talking, but like I need them to know I was singing. Like that's my voice. So went straight to TikTok, started posting consistently, and that kind of just blew up into its own thing. Yeah. And that was kind of how that whole fan base found my stuff. So then from there, I honestly made sure that I understood them before I continued, because I think it's really important. Like, you could look at like the people who listen to your stuff like, oh, they're just there. Like, no, they're connected to something that you do. There's something in the way that you tell a story that they want to follow. Yeah. And I think it's just as equally important to know them as it is for them to know you. Yeah. Whatever that proximity looks like. For some people, it's DMing and commenting back. And for other people, it's just watching what they say and what they think and knowing all of that. So I think I take a lot of that, like I hold it close to my heart, because I know at the end of the day, like there's kids on here who are following me and looking at my stuff the same way I looked at Aretha and Beyonce and Whitney, and like they were a light for me. So I'm very mindful in terms of the type of products I create and the type of message I want to convey, not only through my art, but also with them. Like if I see them being mean and this, hey, we don't do that. That's not what we're here for.
No, let's be nice to everybody. Like I know what it's like to be the kid who's bullied, and I also know what it's like to hurt somebody's feelings. Like it's important to kind of be that role model while also understanding like I'm not their parent. Yeah. And navigating what that looks like. So I think the art for me is the way I can show them like I understand you. There's a feeling here that I'm singing about from my life that you'll somehow relate to yours, and keeping that slight vagueness in the story allows them to really connect, because that's how I connect. I was singing songs like Chain of Fools. I wasn't connected to Chain of Fools like Aretha Franklin connected to Chain of Fools. It had very different meanings for her being a grown one and me being 5 years old, but there was a pain that I resonated with in her voice and the way that she told the story that I found a way to tell mine. Yeah. And I think as long as I feel like my music is doing that, I feel like I'm on the right path in terms of navigating that audience rather than doing what they expect of me.
Yeah.
You'll never get that.
Oh, yeah,
if y'all want one thing and you keep asking, I'm going to do what I want to make. At the end of the day, it is art for me. Like, it's a creative outlet, but hoping that they find themselves in that is kind of where I let it sit.
Well, it's funny. It's Rick Rubin. I love Rick Rubin. That's one of the things he talks about.
Yep.
Is he's like, I don't make art for you.
No.
I make it for myself.
And then you get to enjoy it.
Exactly. And then, well, I mean, you can't ever make something that's like authentic and genuine and really truly like connect with somebody else, I feel like, unless it's coming from you.
Yeah.
So like that's what I do. Like even when I'm in, like this space that I'm in,
yeah.
like I keep that vagueness and I make it like I have a song that's it's about this show called Jujutsu Kaisen, and one of the guys and the main character Yuji, he loses all his family, and he loses like all of his friends and all this stuff. They all die. I know, sad stuff. But
That's so sad.
Oh yeah. But what I did was I related it to a story of a friend that I knew that passed, and he was murdered when I was in high school, and it was just. Oh no, thank you. It's just a constant reminder of it was a visual for me because he used to sit in the desk on the left to me in front of me. So for the rest of the year, I had to go to class and see that empty seat. So for me, that song was like very cathartic for me to make that song and obviously tie it to the property that I was using it for. But that's how I use what I do. Yeah. So hearing what you're talking about, obviously, like I said, keeping that vagueness and obviously making it so that it relates to your audience and it can touch your audience, but also still apply to the property. It's kind of cool to see.
Being as detailed as possible without being specific is always the key.
Exactly. So. Do you see yourself doing that more, like as far as like sync and like all that stuff, or do you want to step away from that a little bit to, obviously just kind of like focus on your career and the things that you're doing without tying it to something else, or what do you think?
I think I'm never opposed to like outside projects or outside things as long as I feel like it aligns with where I'm at, like authentically. Yeah. Like if I'm like, oh, that feels like a good thing to do in this moment. Like everything in my body is telling me yes, I trust that. And if everything is telling me no, then I don't do it. So I feel like it's not necessarily like a yes or a no when it comes to like expanding and doing things like Trolls or other projects, like even like Club Mickey Mouse, for example. Like I was still very much focused on my artistry, but that was something that kind of happened at the time that gave me another outlet in terms of meeting people and expanding and sharing my gift separately from just like my sole artistry. And I think that's what's so exciting about projects like that. So I'm never going to necessarily turn them down unless it just doesn't feel like it aligns with me. But for Trolls specifically, like I went in to do a demo. Yeah. There was no audition. There was no like, hey, let's have you go in and do. I had no idea what I was going in for. My friend Mike had called me and was like, I need you to do this demo. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll trust you. I went to the studio, recorded the song, and he was like, oh, this is going to be great, blah, 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 blah. A couple days later, I get a call, and he's like, Justin heard the demo, congrats. And I was like,
for what?
Justin who? What's going on?
Yeah.
Timberlake, it's for Trolls. Huh?
Yeah.
What? Like, that was just one of those moments where like your soul stepped out of your body for a second.
Yeah. I tap you on the shoulder like, hey, did you hear that?
Boof. Gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, so this is for Trolls. Oh, wait, what? Then they brought me back in. I went and recorded more songs. And it was like the craziest, most exciting experience. But the demo is what they used on the soundtrack. That was the Watch Me Work is the demo day. Like that was what I went in for, the demo. So it was very exciting, but it was also like such a whirlwind of an experience for me because I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. And then when the offer was there, I was like, duh. I love the Trolls movies, please.
That's the perfect example of though is like you show up. Like I know a lot of people that would hear a demo and they would have given you 75% and would have been like, hey, like, okay, this is just a demo, whatever. I'm just going to lay it down like this. But it's the perfect example of like doing it right every time when you have the opportunity, when the opportunity shows up.
Oh, I told my mom before I went in there, she's literally pointing at me laughing. I was in the car, she's dropping me off at the studio. I'm like, I have a feeling no one's on this yet. And she's like, what? I was like, I have a feeling nobody's meant to sing this yet. Yeah. And she was like, okay. And I was like, so I'm going to go in there and sing it in a way that they'll never want anybody else's voice on it after.
That's dope. That's
so
dope.
I went in there with the intention of being like, I want you to love the demo so much that even if you find a better voice, it doesn't cut the way that mine did.
Yeah.
So I really went in there and I gave it full 100%. And when he was like, oh, I think like villain, diva, I was like, done.
Got you.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know, it was fun to like, again, kind of step into a character that I didn't fully know yet.
Yeah.
While really getting to like paint my own existence into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you create an identity.
Yeah, like I didn't know velvet and green hair and the you know, the aesthetic of what was going on. Like I literally was just kind of given a small character breakdown, went in there, sang with everything I had in my body, and then a couple days later they were like, hey,
that's incredible.
We want you to be velvet.
Wow.
So it was a wild experience. So that just came through friends and people who believed in me, trying to get me in the right rooms at the right times. So yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So my question for you then is like, so now that you know, have obviously had this experience, and I do want to circle back to Mickey Mouse, but while this is on my head, you know, like where are you at now as an artist? Like, what are you looking to do? What are you looking to accomplish in your current form? Because you said, listen, depending on where I'm at, how I'm feeling in the moment, like I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this. Right now, who are you as an artist, and what are you looking to get out of your artistry and your experience?
I think right now, specifically with where I'm at, I've been building this world in my head for a few years now, visually, before the sonic. And I think now that I see the world in its like fullness, I'm ready to start giving it a sonic space. So I think for me right now, it's really about building the music and telling the story of who I am for people who don't know yet. and kind of making that introduction and showing them who I am through my influences and my writing and my story and everything else. So I think this next project for me is going to be the most exciting for many reasons. I think one, because again, I'm getting to share the world that I've been curating for so long, but also because I think it's going to be me in a way people haven't heard me before.
Yeah.
And I think that's what gets me excited. Because I've been a part of so many wonderful projects, and I've put out songs with a label independently and had to kind of navigate this space. But I think, you know, now I'm really ready to be like, all right, that was cute.
Yeah.
Y'all got to see me in different forms, but this is the form that I want y'all to meet.
I can't lie. I'm like, and again, we haven't known each other for a long time by any means, but I sit here and I'm really excited. Like, I'm excited for the thought of that. Just hearing here and talking to you and hearing your story and what you came from, your trials and tribulations, how you got to where you did, you know what I mean? Like, I'm hearing everything right now, and I'm imagining this in a sonic space. And I'm like, man, you got a story to tell.
It's loud.
Yeah.
It's loud.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm excited, not even having heard, you know, a beat, nothing. You know.
You know?
Do you have I don't know if you can talk about it, but do you have like a timeline or something that you're thinking about, or?
I don't know if there's like a definitive timeline, but I will definitely say by next year, it will be a fully operating train.
Yeah.
But that's really kind of where my head is at, without revealing too much. What's gonna kind of lead into that. Yeah. There's a lot of exciting things coming outside of my project, but also with a project to follow that I'm excited about. So next year.
That's dope.
Yeah, we're finishing this year off with a visual.
Yeah.
So I've been really happy to kind of get that visual tied to Pick Your Poison, like I had mentioned. And that's kind of how we're gonna wrap up the end of this year, and then next year is gonna be a completely different story.
I'll be sure to share it, promote it wherever I'm at. So.
Hey, thank you.
I got you.
Thank you.
So my question, going back then, because I said I was gonna touch on the Mickey Mouse Club. So how did that come to be? Like, was that an Apollo and immediately Mickey Mouse, or was there like?
No, so the thing is, these weird things always happen to me where all of these opportunities find me.
Okay.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
I'm working, I'm training, I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to, but for some reason, all of these moments and these projects just kind of find themselves.
Well, quick thing.
Yeah.
You say that, but it's because of you. So, like, the reason I say that is because you're ready. It's like,
yes.
Every time these opportunities come, a lot of times, it's like, you know, like it's like your moment in a basketball game, right? I'm just going to keep going back to basketball.
Yeah.
It's like, I've shot 1,000 shots.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the moment for it to
Yes.
happen because I put in the work before that.
Yes.
So you're ready for whenever these other opportunities come through, and you keep saying, I don't know, these things keep happening.
No,
I'm
but
like, they happen to you, but you're ready for them.
They happen because I'm prepped for
Yeah,
sure, and because
exactly.
I put years and years of my life in already. Only being 24, I mean, I started dance when I was 3, so
Yeah,
2 decades at least have been designated of my life to my craft.
sure.
But in a sense of they find me out of nowhere. Like the Trolls thing was a demo, not Club Mickey Mouse. I thought it was a spam email. I got an email sent to my mom, and it was like, Club Mickey Mouse reboot. We want Brianna to come in for a producer session, blah, 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 blah. The Disney little logo at the bottom. And I was like,
Okay.
I have an agent.
Yeah.
Why is Disney emailing my... That's not Disney. So my mom was like, I don't know, Bri. Let me see. Hits my agent up, sends them the email. They're like, no, go. That's real. Please go, please. So I was like, oh, shoot. So went in for a producer session, did a couple songs, danced, all of that. And then for the next 2 days, I was seeing Mickey Mouse everywhere. Every flea market, every store. And I'd never seen that much Mickey in my life.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I couldn't escape Mickey. It was like everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I think on the 3rd day, I got a phone call from the team, and they were like, we want you to be a part of the cast, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, oh my gosh. So very similarly to Trolls, it kind of found its way to me.
Yeah.
But I was just as excited for the opportunity because that was my first time working with Disney. I mean, I'd gone and auditioned for millions of shows and like gotten close to the end, and it just never worked. And then Club Mickey Mouse happened, and I was like, oh, I understand why it didn't work now.
There's everybody, and then there's Disney.
You know
what I mean? It's
like,
there's like missing all these other opportunities,
Yeah.
and then there's, you know what I mean, like the giant itself. So how long were you on the Mickey Mouse Club?
Probably like 2 years.
Wow. And so what was your experiences? How do you?
I loved it.
Yeah, really.
I did. I think for me, it was my first time like really being on a set to that degree.
Yeah.
And we got to do like fun press and go to all the parks and perform for the Disney Christmas parade. Like there were so many firsts for me, and I also I met my best friend doing it. So that was also a complete plus because for a while I think I've been out here and I've been so focused on work that I hadn't really built any friendships, especially because I didn't really have many friends growing up anyways.
Yeah.
And I think having met her there and finding such a valuable human, and now 7 years later we're still like this, like that was also a huge plus, but also like getting to do that together.
Yeah.
And having somebody kind of like be there by your side the whole time with all those firsts made it that much more exciting. Like we call ourselves R&B, we joke, because her name's Reagan. So we're always like, oh, R&B. So that was the whole thing too with like Club Mickey Mouse. Like it was R&B, and then we were all vibing, and that was the Musketeers, and it was cool kind of like seeing how those two things shaped themselves alongside each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gained one of my closest friends, and also like such valuable experiences and firsts on sets and press and everything else that I'd never experienced before to that capacity. So
Does she make music?
she's a rapper.
Oh, okay, so after this you have to show me some of her stuff.
Oh no, she's fire. She's fire.
Yeah.
She also acts and dances and everything else, but she's incredible.
So that was actually going to go into my next question because, like, I was wondering, obviously the entertainment industry, the music industry, whatever you want to call it, it's so hard to meet genuine people that you are friends with and that you can like
connect
have that
with.
journey, connect
Yes.
that with you.
And it's natural.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you don't feel like you're like, oh well, you're a good person, so we should be friends.
Yeah.
It just fits.
Yeah, so is that your person? Do you have like a little network of people?
That's my best friend.
Okay.
I do have like a good circle of friends now, like especially over time. Like another one of my closest friends is from the show. His name's Will. He does all my choreo and everything else, but he's a really, really good friend. And I've slowly branched out through other projects or other like friend groups, just meeting other people, and I have like a really solid core group of friends that are the best.
That's dope. So you said you've been dancing since you were 3. How integral to like your music and your and who you are as an artist is dance to that? How does dancing fit into you?
For the longest time, I feel like I had to convince people it mattered. Yeah. Like, especially because I think first people meet me and they're like, "Wow, your voice," and I'm like, "Yes, but I want to dance too." I know that's not what you wanted to hear, especially like having done the label thing and you know, met with different people, it's always like, wow, the voice, and nobody ever really sees me dance because it was always something I kind of just did. And then Club Mickey Mouse was really the first time I kind of exercised that on a project, and you know, it kind of awoke this thing in me that I was like, I'm never letting that go again. Yeah. And since then, I've really tried to incorporate it into everything I do. When I talk about seeing the visuals, sometimes it's seeing the dance before it's hearing the sounds. Yeah. So to me, dance is that extra detail that tells the story beyond what your voice can. Like your voice can say so much, but also so can just standing on stage and holding a mic and moving your arm a little bit. Like, that's also something. And then there's something to be said for having a huge group and being in sync and doing all of these things that feel like they're enhancing the story and this vision.
Oh, yeah. Because that's what, I mean, the only reason I say that, right, is like, and I think it gets overlooked.
It does.
It gets overlooked so much, but I think about the most iconic performers and the most iconic musicians of all time, right? Think of Michael Jackson.
Hello.
Think of Beyonce.
Hello.
Think of even Britney Spears, her performances back in the day. You know what I mean? Think of Chris Brown. Think of like
Janet, Victoria, you know, Usher.
It's like it's as much a part of their identity
as anything else.
As anything else. It's such a big integral piece of it. And I was wondering, like, you know, for me, I'm like, when you have that ability, it's got to be hard to like want to hold back when people are telling you, well, we just want you to kind of sing, when you're like, listen, I can do all this stuff, and that makes you, first off, much more interesting as an artist. You know what I mean? And like, but then it gives you, I don't know, there's something about the people that can dance and sing and stuff. There's just something about it that makes them more iconic, and it's everybody. It's everybody. So like, that's dope that you have the ability to like switch into that, and hopefully you get to realize that with your project that you have coming out.
I've definitely been you know, bringing it into a lot of the things I've been doing more recently. Like even with Trolls, I did like a Watch Me Work live performance video because I was like, yes, we'll keep it PG because it is a family-friendly movie, but I want y'all to know I'm not just a vocalist. Like there's so much more to the dream and the vision that I have. Sure. And now with the video and other things, it's been really cool kind of bringing that to life. I also think like some people are dancers first and singers second. Yeah. And there is a difference in the artistry, and I think it's cool to see how it looks different for everyone. And I think, you know, for me, obviously the vocals and the story there comes first, but the dance is that's the world. Oh, yeah. That's where you see the world come to life. Yeah. So without dancers, choreographers, like, I think music would be so boring.
I swear, if I could dance, I would not. Every single video, I'd be dancing. I'd be in my room. Yeah. I'd be on TikTok. I'd be like, every single video, I'd have a clip of me dancing. Like, you would see it, every video. I wish I had skills like that, so I'm jealous.
Hey, everybody can. It takes time.
My big ass, I'm like, bro.
You could. Anybody can. I even said it to my mom because she's got, like, no rhythm. Yeah. But slowly, she's progressed to, like, getting a
little head bop,
a little step touch and a little clap. Like, she's made progress, so I think anybody can. Okay. Yeah, you just got to trust it.
I got, so everything so far has just been me trying to figure out what's going on. I just been talking to you and interested in me getting a few. So I have a few questions.
Go for it.
That I want to make sure that I touch on. So we talked a lot about, you know, your successes and the things that happened, and there are a lot of them, right? But like, I kind of want to touch, because these are always going to happen. You touched on it in the beginning, as far as like when you were younger, you know, the pitfalls that you had, people making fun of you, all that stuff. Is there a moment in this timeline where you felt like, I'm not going to make it?
You know what's crazy? Even in like my most shy moments where like I was doing the bare minimum to be seen, seeing the vision and seeing me there was never in question. Yeah. It was always for me like, just when. Yeah. So I think that's honestly what's kept me going, because a lot of like the time I'll meet people and they're like, well, how have you been doing this so long? Like, you've been putting in the work. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't see it as work. Like, this is always what I've seen for me in my life. And now slowly I'm working on these projects that are validating that. Yeah. But I think for me, like I never really questioned it. It didn't matter what I was doing. I just knew I was meant to do this. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think there was ever a moment where I was like, it's not gonna work. I think there might have been moments where I was like, God, don't play with me. If this doesn't happen, I'm done. And then it wouldn't happen, and I'd be like, well, I'm not done, so I lied.
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going. Yeah. But it was more so of like an internal thing of feeling like, is everybody giving their all and it's just not happening fast enough? For sure. But I also think it not happening fast enough is what has made me ready mentally
Yeah.
for the projects that I've done, because that does come with a big audience, and with a big audience comes big opinions, and it comes big asks. And I think having that time to really build myself and understand myself made me ready for when those moments did come, and I didn't question it. You know, like I could walk into that room and do that demo and be like, I don't care who comes in after me. I did it. So that's fine. And I think it built that, like that self-assurance that's kind of needed for the long game.
Yeah.
So I think in a way I would have never stopped, but also I'm grateful that I didn't.
I think, you know, what's funny is everybody that I talk to that's in a position of success, and I've talked to people, I've had an opportunity just in, you know, what my past life of what I did, to talk to some people who have like seen the mountaintops, right? Who've seen, you know, the highest of the highs. And the common trait that I hear is that they always knew they were going to get there. It's like, that's the one thing that like I notice whenever I talk to somebody and I ask that question, because it's always a question that I'm curious about, is, you know, they all said, no, I'll get there. It may be rough and I may have cried a lot along the way.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But eventually, like, no, I'm there.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I started so young, and I always knew from then that this was what I want. Like, my mom tried to get me in soccer camp.
Yeah.
That was never going to happen.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I want vocal lessons. She was like, huh?
You sure?
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you know what that is? And it was something that they never had to force me to do. I was always chasing it. And I think because of that, it made that like belief of, well, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen, so much easier to believe.
Yeah.
Because regardless, I knew there was never anything else I would do. Whether I was singing in a coffee shop for 10 people or singing in a stadium with thousands, it didn't matter to me, because I was doing the thing I knew I was supposed to.
Gotcha.
Or at least meant to. So I don't know. I think having that like knowledge from a young age really did help. And then when you have like those moments where you are like, oh wow, I had this, it's still knowing that like that might not be your peak. Like you could, for example, Club Mickey Mouse, I went into that and was like, okay, this might change everything. It might change nothing. Either way, I have to keep going, and I have to keep focused, and I have to stay on task. And, you know, I've been able to work on projects where other people are like, oh, this is it, we're going to be millionaires. And I'm like, it's not how it works. But it taught me that patience, and it gave me that unwavering thing of like when people would be like, oh, you should change your hair color. You should change actually, you need a nose job. You need to lose weight. I was like, well, no.
I mean.
No.
Yeah.
Not going to do what you ask because you want me to. Like, it gave me that, that like wall of a barrier between me and everybody who perceives me. And I think that is something that if you don't have, it can really ruin your perception of the industry and the craft. So I'm grateful things happened the way that they did, and I've reached the peaks that I have, but also acknowledging that there's still many more to come. And, you know, just keep going through them.
Yeah, the way that I look at it too is like you were talking about like how that's not how it works, essentially. I think one of the good things is like, this may not necessarily be the thing that launches me, but it can be the thing that keeps you from being launched. So even if it isn't the thing that's like going to be the next thing, it will absolutely go. The next time somebody goes and they'll be like, oh yeah, she was on Mickey Mouse. Hey. What was your experiences with her? You know what I mean? Like, but like it'll absolutely keep you from opportunities. So that's why I always think about it. It's like, yeah, it may not necessarily launch you, but when people go to start looking for you, that might be the thing that costs you a job. You know?
Yeah.
So let me go into one more thing. How are we good on time? One more question. Okay.
One more. Thanks, Ellie.
Well, let me pick a good one. Hold on.
Uh-oh. The pressure's on.
Oh, this is perfect.
Okay.
All right. So now that you're in the position that you are, and you know, we've talked about we reflected on your past, your future, you know, the things that you've done, the successes you've had, the struggles that you've had. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, the girl before the Apollo, what would you say?
That's a good question. I think I would just confirm everything she was thinking. I think for so long, I always had the belief, and whether it was about other people seeing it or other people realizing it, like, I think what might have helped me in those moments was just knowing that it was true, even though I believed it was true. I think for so long, when you hear that it's not from other people, it can make you kind of go, okay, well, okay, maybe not yet. Oh, maybe, and you kind of, you know, divert the focus. But I think I would just go back and tell her, like, nope, keep going, because we did it.
Yeah, we're here.
Don't worry about it. You're fine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just kind of the reassurance, because I don't know that there's necessarily anything I would want to change about that shy girl who eventually broke through that wall, because I think the breakthrough is what made me this version of myself. So I don't know. I think I would just kind of confirm to her, like, hey, trust your thoughts, trust your instincts. When it tells you people are weird, the people are weird. When it tells you people are cool and they believe in you, believe in that. Like, navigating the internal dialogue of what it looks like to be an artist. I think I would just validate that.
I think the beautiful thing about that is, you know, and my mom off camera can be proud of it. Can be proud of this as well. Is it's one of those things where if you could look at your younger self and say, keep going, you know what I mean? You should be happy about where you're at.
Yeah,
so
that's valid.
That's a very I mean, that's a moment in your life where you can, I mean, I don't know many people that can look back and, you know, they would have all kinds of advice. Don't do this, don't do that, do this, be this, you know what I mean? And
be yourself.
The fact that you can, exactly, because being yourself, ultimately, that's the thing that's going to get you to the door, because people, again, they have a BS detector all the time, right? It's like they know you're not being your authentic self.
Yeah, and I think in an industry where they're always looking for the next so-and-so, the things that make you the first you is following that internal compass and like trusting those instincts, because it's so easy to fall into that formula of, oh yeah, I can do this thing and this thing that this person did before me and be exactly like them, or I can do what I want to do, make the art I want to make, and hope that it finds the right people in the right time. So yeah, I think that's great.
Well, this has been an incredible conversation.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you
happy. We got
so much, so much. So incredible to actually meet you.
Yes,
do you have anything that you want to plug or anything that you want to say? Or
I just, maybe like a huge thank you, I think, to the people who have gotten me this far. One being my family, but also two, the Insomniacs at home. That's what they call themselves. After Trolls, they all adopted the Insomniacs name because your girl doesn't sleep. But yeah, I think like a huge thank you to you guys, because it's because of y'all that I'm able to keep going and sharing the things that I love, the capacity and the strength that I do. So stay tuned for everything else.
I mean, I don't think I can end it better than that.
Hey!
This has been In the Lab, and I'll see you next time.
Hey!
Bye.